How are you doing, Internet? I'm B-Nuts, and today we will be taking a look at the SDBD RX-Zeromaru from Gundam Build Divers, and this is Ninja Waifu's mobile suit, her SD style with the cross silhouette frame. Nope, not that Ninja Waifu, not those either, not even those. This one. And I will also hold this up close enough to have the information there for you, and you can pause it as you wish so that you can get all of the information. And over here is the Zeromaru's line art and information as well. Although, as you can see, I've done it up a bit differently from the way that it is by default. Further information you may find interesting here in the manual. Something on the Material Gunpla, which it mentions with the NTD, so it's referring to the Unicorn itself. And the Armed Armour Hattori, which is instead of Armed Armour or Armed Armour DE, on the Beam Zanbato and Kakure forms. Kakure refers to maybe the claws on the real mode. Nintendo most likely refers to the NTD or new type destroy mode of the original Unicorn, but this refers to the mode I believe that Ayame used when she was countering that mercenary. So you've also got some kunai and the Tanegashima rifle. So it's got a matchlock gun motif, Maguna Shiki Tanegashima, the big gun that it has, which I'm assuming is a reference to the original Buster rifle for the Unicorn. And here you can see that I've done a little painting, and I have painted up the inner frame, the psycho frame parts. I wanted to paint a spectrum onto the psycho frame, so I used this metallic blue for the outer ones. Then I used my favorite light blue as we went inward, and then meta purple for the very inside, or at least that was the scheme I was going for. The silver for the blade, the gold for the parts that were gold, which is on the ankles and up on the V-fin. I left some parts with the default swirly gold, but to show the contrast, as well as because I don't think it's that bad in certain places, and this is, after all, an SD. This gray where appropriate, such as on the shuriken, because that part is supposed to be gray. The green on the face mask eyes, as well as in other places such as the sights. I do believe it is important to note that this version of the Zeromaru comes with the cross silhouette frame, and uniquely a red one, sort of a metallic red, as you can see on the Armed Armour Hattori and elsewhere. So if you wanted to equip it with a regular SD frame, you would have to buy that separately, and it may not be red if you do get it, at least not for now. Hopefully Bandai will be releasing other CS frames and other SD frames for all their different releases, because most of them come only with the SD frames. This one is a little unique in that it does come with the cross silhouette frame instead. And yes, the red Bandai logo here does indicate that this is one of the last releases prior to the restructuring, and Bandai Spirits being handed the whole endeavor of the more adult-oriented kits and models. And I do believe that this one would have fallen under that, because unlike normal SD kits, you do have to cut the parts off of the runner. And just while I'm mentioning all these kits, I am somewhat excited for the full armor version of the Zeromaru, but even more so for the figurized version of Ayame, because that was likely to be good, and there are a lot of fans of Ayame who would do much to protect her smile and everything else like that. Because the figurized standard version of Diver Nami actually seems to be a lot more promising than the previous Gunpla girls. It's smaller, it seems to make better use of the frame. My only concern really is about which level the eyes and the eye stickers are going to stick out. If it's not flush, it's still going to come out looking weird. Anyway, back to this and no further digressions. You can see where I painted everything, all the apps, all of the psycho frame and the eyes on there, which you don't get a sticker for those. You do get a sticker for the sights and the eyes of the Hattori there. There are stickers that are supposed to go over the claws and over there, but there's not supposed to be a hole there for that. I did take some artistic license. I added some blue and green to the scarf and also to the edges of the giant shuriken and the scarf up here. But that was a decision I made because I thought it would look cool, so basically rule of cool. Also here with the piping on her very un-ninja-esque rifle. Here is the RX-Zeromaru in its Kakure or stealth form, or as much as can be allowed, since this doesn't actually transform. This Zeromaru is based on the destroy mode of the Unicorn, so you can't actually hide any of the psycho frame that's on it. So you've got the V-fin closed in the Unicorn mode, you've got the face mask down, you've got the ankle guards flipped so that the points on here point down, and it does look pretty cool even just this way, even though the changes are absolutely minimal on here. But you can definitely understand the reference to the Unicorn's Unicorn mode here. The articulation is unchanged from the usual mode, so I'm just going to go there, I think. Unless, of course, the ankles I think would be the part that would be most changed, but I'm not expecting it to be changed by much. That's your usual ball joint, and the armor can go up that far and down only that far. In order to change it into its usual Shinobi form, you just pull out that front, flip that around, and plug it back in. I would advise pulling those out by the front because you have that gap there that allows for it more easily, and you have just that ball joint connection. That's the only place where the ankle joints connect. And now the ankle joint itself can move up that far and down that far, and it doesn't really wiggle around in this form. You can split open the V-fin and slide the mask up. And I think it's pretty cool that you have this very simple mechanism for revealing the Gundam face underneath. You did not get that on, say, the BB Senshi BB Legends Full Armor Unicorn. You actually had to take the head apart and spin it around, and then spin the cheek plates in order to change that. And even though it's a much more complete transformation, since it also transforms the body at least a bit, I also think that they've come up with a cool mechanism here. So of course, this can open and close. The head only moves up and down fractionally, especially with the scarf there. It can tilt that much side to side, and the scarf again does get in the way. You heard that snap. That was mostly the head well, I thought it was disconnecting, it hasn't. So it can go all the way around without detaching. The arms can come this far up, this far forward and back, and rotate around, and losing the shoulder. Like that. The arm, as you can see, can come up that far. The shoulder piece is attached with that and this groove, so it is not mobile. But again, it's an SD or CSSD, so you're not supposed to expect that much poseability from it. The arm goes up like that. It has a bicep rotation and an elbow joint, about 90 degrees. And it can go backwards a bit too. Of course, you've got that ball jointed wrist, a little bit of flexibility there. And this part of the shoulder can rotate, and that is for the transformation into its real mode, to be more precise. The waist doesn't have much rocking either way. It's just pegs in securely, and because of the side skirts or the skirting, it doesn't allow for all that much movement in any direction. And if you try to take it out, it will come out more or less all the way. So even if you wanted to cheat and turn it around completely, you cannot, because the skirting will get in the way. For the legs, you of course have this rotation up on the thigh. It can come this far forward and collide with the front skirt, this far to the side, and that ball joint has come off. This far back, and it does have a knee joint for about 90-degree bend, which is more in line with the BB Senshi and BB Legends line than with normal SDs, so pretty good. And the ankle is, as I said, a normal ball joint. Can go all the way around, this far forward and back, and the ankle guard tilts slightly up and down. Now that's the poseability for the RX-Zeromaru. And in addition to that, I do think that it looks pretty cool with the multicolored psycho frame that I've given it. Now for the Armed Armour Hattori accessory, I did paint the psycho frame and everything that was red, as well as the gold there, and that's blue. I used all three of my staged or transition painting on those shoulder parts, and painted up the head part as well. And you can see, kind of messy, but done. For its articulation, these are connected on a simple peg and ball joint, so they can go all the way around. So given how they're constructed, as you can see, it's just two pieces that slide in together. They're not really meant for much movement at all in this form. There we go. For the wings, they're also on the peg here, so they can go up this far, down this far. They can't move really forwards or back at all, so it's very simple there. Then for the feet or claws there. They can go up this far and down this far. They're just connected very simply on this peg. And of course, if you're going to paint this, you have to be careful about the gold filigree there, and then the frame part here, all of which would be stickers. It does look really cool, except for from the bottom. As you can see the joints and empty spaces, which are par for the course for most SDs. For accessories, other than the Armed Armour Hattori, you have the flintlock pistol or shotgun. Still can't really decide. The Tanegashima rifle. 2 kunai, which come completely in black, so if you want to paint them, you can. They have 2 ports on both sides, so they can be attached to any point that has a 3mm peg. You have 4 of these, which can be used as a handle for a weapon, and it also has these 3 pegs on the side and 1 on the top. I said 4 because 1 is attached to the giant shuriken. This comes all in this red, which is a nice red, and the blade parts are separable. And I've painted, as you can see, and as I said earlier. Well, you can use them separately if you like, but together they can also form a shuriken shield. And you have the scarf parts, and as I said, I took liberties painting the outside of this blue because I'm using blue on the psycho frame. And you also have the front part of the scarf, which just attaches like that. You can see it just slide in, and then you can push the head back down. I do think this is a pretty cool piece. It has the port there and sideways, so you can peg it into any peg there. And it also serves another purpose. You also have this, which I have no idea what it's for. I can find its use anywhere in the manual. The ninja blade, which comes all in white, so I painted the blade silver and the pommel and crosspiece or guard in gold. 2 blade effect pieces, and they can be used with the kunai. You can see you can attach just like that. They're in fairly okay, although it's just connected on there rather than slid on. But it does look pretty good. And the final accessory, which no ninja should be without, are the ninja sign hands. Nin. Attach this part of the scarf to the Zeromaru. Doing it like this doesn't quite fit, so you'll want to take that end and put it to one of the pegs. This is if you want to have someone standing close by behind her, you can have it like that. Or you can attach it to either of the side pegs here, like this, and then it's attached like this. Or if you want the scarf to be flaring out the other direction, on this side, to equip the ninto blade, you just slide it into the hand because you can't separate the hand parts. And just to demonstrate, something like that. And you can store it in the little scabbard that's behind here, just behind the little Federation star that you usually see on the RX-7802's shield. You also have the rifle, which just slides into the hand, like so. There is no particular way it wants you to store it onto this Gundam, but you do have these pegs on the back, and I imagine you could fit it. Just put it there where the shuriken shield can also mount. You have these ports on both sides, so if you're going to store them, you can store them forward or backwards. On any of these pegs on her arm, and you have these on the side as well as the bottom. You also have some on her side skirts, which you could use. You could also use them for the rifle, although they're going to interfere with the stuff that's behind there. You can make use of these ports if you so desired. The double shuriken here, and of course you can peg that in, although that's going to interfere a bit with the shoulder. You can still try and peg that in either side or under her arm if you have the clearance. Anywhere there's a peg again. Although, as I indicated before, its main storage is on the back like this, and we do see her like this on the show. The instructions want you to use it in its shield form by equipping one of these. Just want to drop that handle in. And I just lost the shoulder. You've got a number of very versatile little accessories for her, and that's without using this guy. But this guy is mostly either for backup or for the big transformation. Before I move on to that transformation, here is our sticker sheet. And as you can see, the only ones that I used were one of the big eyes and the small eyes. Everything else I managed to find a way to paint in one way or another. Now this is rather a large sticker sheet, but you would expect something like this for an SD. In a way, it is a shame that the cycle frame isn't clear red, as it is with the full armor unicorn from the BB Legends line, but in the other way, not having it clear plastic made it easier for me to paint in the way that I wanted to. To begin the transformation, as you can see here, the instructions want you to basically disassemble both the Zeromaru and the Hattori almost completely. Take off the main V-fin, take off the head parts. I can now show you that I'm using a different pair of eye stickers here. That came from, I think, the star winning. It goes off and reveal the face under here. We need this piece and plug that in there. We can put the V-fin onto the real type head. We can also choose to put on the mask on here. Though it does look strange because it won't go on flush. From the side or the back, it will indeed look strange. From directly in the front, it looks okay. And you can put the mask on the chest. For this head, it wants you to close this and drop down the faceplate, the mask. These handle things, plug them into here. It wants to attach that here and have it upside down. Still ridiculous. I'm going to take this arm, remove this piece, one of the claws. First I had it backwards, and with the shoulder you reverse that and flip that like that. Take this and attach it similarly to before. This one has to go on the other side, needs to come off. I mean, besides not attaching this part first. This is the one I need to get. And attach that like that. And then those snap in like that. It wants us to take that out and touch the opposite one. Fold that feather up. Like that. And put it into a leg. Turn it like this. And it slides very easily in. Turn off the feather. I mean, it doesn't move much, so I wasn't sure it's in the way it's supposed to be. That's just turned around and touched the legs. Even after all that part's forming, I'm going to attach the arms to the torso before I do the torso, and then this, and it can stand. Let's try going through the articulation of Nintendo Form as quickly as possible. We have a single ball joint and hinge, so it can go up and down, slight tilt, can rotate all the way. It's not quite the robot chicken, but it will definitely suffice. The armor, shoulders don't quite move separately. It's that hinge that's moving more than anything else. And of course, that can also rotate. But shoulder goes up that far. Can kind of come out to allow it to come forward that far and back that far. Yeah, that joint does move, as I discovered during the transformation. The arm is pretty much the same arm, so it can go up that far. Still has that rotation. It's the same elbow joint, and if you're looking from this direction, you see all of the hollows as well. Again, of course, go back a bit because, again, same joint. Ball jointed wrist, same as before because it is the same wrist. And of course, that moves. It can still move forward and back slightly, side to side, almost nil. And rotation, full this time, although it does have a few stops. The skirting, of course, is stationary, completely stationary. The leg can go forward that far directly, and if you do it to the side a bit more, it's really, the armor is colliding quite a lot. So you'll get the most motion from it backwards. It can basically come out and kick itself. But sideways, back, and forward, not a whole lot. The knee, single bend it looks like, and it's almost, but not quite, 90 degrees. This, of course, is a single part, so it's not going to bend. The ankle is the same, so you have all of the same tilting and poseability. Even you can manage those points around each other. You can rotate that ankle, and the ankle guard is also the same. Considering it's an SD in real mode form, I still think it's pretty good. And you can get a dynamic pose like this out of it. So, pretty decent. And final bit you can do vis-a-vis transformations is you've got a few little gimmicky things that you can do with the weapons, and it wouldn't be an SD without a few additional gimmicks. So, of course, you've got that, but we've already covered the additional effect part for the kunai. The other thing that you can do is you can add these tail feather parts onto here. It goes onto somewhere. And that's like the clip on the Magnum. Put it back on further back. Like that. Drop that into the hand. And like that. And it has its own powerful weapon. Then you can take the Ninto blade and the scarf effect part, put that together, and you have a sort of flaming sword, which is impressive in its own right. So I will add that here. Like that. But that isn't all that it says that you can do, as there is a Nagitana-like form for this weapon. And just, oops, I'm going to take that out of the hand. And then this whole long thing goes into the hand like that. And impressively, it can hold that up, despite having SD joints. So that's pretty cool too. So for the comparison, I've loaded down the Nintendo Form with everything that I can possibly put on. All I'm really missing is the front of the scarf, this little joint thing, and the ninja pose hands, which, no, if she's holding all of her weapons or they're attached somewhere, then it's really not going to matter that she's not using them. And maybe the big SD helmet in the back is helping to balance out everything that's in her hands, especially this long weapon here. But even loaded down, she's able to stand up fairly well. And she even comes up taller than my second symphony over there. So there is a lot to be appreciated there. And I did attach the rifle onto the side, as I said you could probably do, and you can do, because everything else is out of the way. In this form, those fins here, they're in the front and they're kind of folded into the front. So they're out of the way out of anything that you might want to peg onto the backpack. The only concern now is that the helmet is taking up 2 of the slots, but it's a minor concern considering what it might be doing. Though you can find out for yourself whether or not you can stand it with everything and still have all that. But of course, in its SD form, the RX-Zeromaru is going to be a little taller than a standard SD because it's a CS, not an SD. If you want to get an RX-Zeromaru of your own, you can get it from Ayame, as I did. And I would also recommend it if you like SDs that can transform, Ninja, and just Ayame in general. And you can do all sorts of things with it as far as customization goes. And so that's a great thing. Now, is this the preferred form over the full armor that's upcoming? I don't know, because we don't know all that much about it. Though we do know that the psycho frame on that one will be green, and it will likely have some form of the shields that came with the full armor. So we can definitely look forward to that with a bit of anticipation. but this one isn't so expensive that you wouldn't be able to get it anyway. It's about the same price for a standard high grade, and considering all of the accessories and the second form, it's not that hard to understand why it's that price, and you can certainly wait for a sale or a discount of some kind to make it more affordable. So I do recommend the RX-Zeromaru as is. So taking off the SD helmet does alter the balance somewhat, but you can still stand it on its own perfectly well. So that is one other thing to add as a selling point for the Zeromaru, that it can stand and it doesn't have to look quite so ridiculous standing out like that, although the chest and the backpack do make it quite thick on the side, as you can see there. But all that being told, it does still look very, very cool and very, very impressive, especially with the larger weapons. So that about does it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it informative. If you did, you can leave a like, comment below what you thought, subscribe to show your support for my channel, and visit my Patreon. So thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye!